thanks for tuning in. Today I am doing another experiment, one of my favorite things to do. I am going to be making one of my colorful Dragonskin coasters that, if you've been watching my channel, you've seen me make all kinds of those. This time I'm doing it a little bit differently. I have mixed up my colors already, and I didn't do this on camera because it took me a long time to kind of experiment and get to the colors that I wanted. But basically what I have is 1 ounce of resin in each cup. I have 2 drops of pearl acrylic ink, and then 2 drops of regular acrylic ink. Not alcohol ink, these are acrylic inks. So that's what I'm testing today, is acrylic ink versus alcohol ink. I use acrylic ink quite a bit. It's just as translucent and colorful as alcohol ink, but it doesn't fade. So if I'm doing something where I want like a transparent or translucent effect, I always use acrylic ink, but I've never used the pearl with it. So the pearl acrylic ink, I don't know if hopefully you can see this. It gives kind of like an iridescent shimmer. And I thought that might be kind of pretty to see if that'll come through. Those bubbles. And a lot of times this shimmer comes from mica powder, but mica powder is heavy and it kind of does its own thing. So I wanted to see if I could get that shimmery effect with these pearl acrylic inks. All right, so just to show you real quick what I used. The acrylic inks are this Pearlescent brand, and I'll put the colors in the description. But like I said, I put 2 drops of the acrylic pearl, and then the regular acrylic ink is the Liquitex, and I put 2 drops of those in as well in 1 ounce. Then I have 4 ounces of white mica powder mixed up. Today I'm using the Eye Candy Aki white. It's a really nice shimmery white. And then I have 4 ounces of clear. So I have a total of 12 ounces for 4 coasters, 3 ounces in each. All right, so I'm gonna pour the color around the edge and the clear in the center. And then the accent is gonna be the mica. So I'm seeing some really cool crackling effects happening kind of around the center where the clear pushed the color back. So that's kind of neat. I'm really curious how these are gonna look. So I do see some bubbles down on the bottom of the mold, and I'm just gonna take my little dotting tool, just kind of lift those up. Because the bubbles that are stuck to the mold, they're not going to release. They're gonna stay stuck to the mold, and then when you demold these and flip them over, you're gonna have little bubble holes on what will be the top of the coaster. So it's not really possible to get rid of every single one, but some of these bigger ones I like to just lift up. Okay, and now for the mica. I'm gonna pour this around the rim and trying to get a small stream. It's like a drizzle. The smaller your stream, the finer your dragon skin effects will be. If you just like dump the resin out in a big thick stream, you'll have really thick dragon scales or large ones. And if you do it in kind of a smaller drizzle like this, you'll end up with finer ones, more like fish scale size. So now I'm going to take the end of my dotting tool again, and this time I'm just going to go around the rim of the coaster. And same principle, this is just getting rid of any bubbles that are stuck to the mold. All right, then my last step is to add this crushed glass to the center. And this glass has like a silver paint on it, a silver coating, so it's really pretty. It's not clear. Sometimes the clear glass disappears. And then I'm just gonna press the glass down and spread it out a little bit. Just want a nice round center here. All right, I'm just gonna hit it real quick with my heat gun. All right, so now my hope is that they spread towards the center, and when we demold them tomorrow, they have some really cool effects on the other side, but we shall see. So I will be back tomorrow to demold these. See you then. Okay guys, I'm back. I had a change of heart. I decided I'm gonna make these into bowls instead of coasters. So it's been about 8 hours since I poured. They are still flexible, can bend them, but they're not sticky anymore. And that's the state that I like to do any kind of shaping. So I have some bowls, and what I'm gonna do is put a piece of plastic wrap between the bowl and the resin to try and keep the bowl from making any marks on the resin. So something like that. I don't know, we'll see. This will also help make it easier, I'm hoping, to get the bowl out of the bowl. I usually use plastic bowls for this, and you can just kind of, you know, spread them open and then the resin pops out. It doesn't stick. But resin does stick pretty good to glass. So I'm hoping this plastic wrap will help with that. Okay, so let's demold these. I don't know which side I want to use. I think this side ended up looking pretty cool. But we'll see what the other side looks like. And then we'll decide once I get them out of here. Well, that looks kind of cool. You know what, let me take them all out so I can see if they all look similar or if any of them look different. I think I put a little too much of the pearl ink in. So I was hoping they'd be a little bit more transparent where you could see some of the white a little bit better. But they still look pretty cool. That effect is, it's much more subtle than like a typical dragon skin effect. But I do like how the white kind of made some neat effects on this side too. This green color is really pretty. Yeah, so they're all kind of similar. They all have very subtle shimmery effects. So, what side do I want in the bowl and what side do I want on the outside? I think I'm gonna do them this way. This was the side I had intended to be kind of like the top of the coaster. So, all right, so let's see how this will work. Hopefully it'll work. So I'm not gonna push them down too far. I just want a little bit of a bowl shape. I don't want them to be like extreme. If I push them all the way in, they'll really curve. I don't know, I guess we'll see if this plastic wrap was a good idea or not. Last one. I don't know, I might end up with some lines or wrinkles. Probably gonna end up with some wrinkles on the bottom, but it might look kind of cool too. So we'll see. We will see. All right, so I'm gonna leave these sit and finish curing, and then tomorrow I will pick up where I left off today and we'll pull them out and see what they look like. So I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, it's the next day and everything is nice and cured. So I'm gonna pop these out and then I'm gonna show you how I sand my edges. Not sure what that is. So let's see, make sure you can see. There's a little lip on the edge of these, because this was the pouring side of the coaster. The bottom that was on the mold was down here. So there's always a little lip when you pour into a mold if you don't dome it, which I did not do. So the next thing I'm going to show you is how I get rid of this edge, and then I'm going to put some silver leaf on the edges. So stick around if you want to see that. Well, let's get the rest of these out of the mold. I think these look so pretty. This one's not quite level. That's okay. Sits nice. Pretty green one. And this plastic wrap, well, maybe I'm speaking too soon. I was gonna say it helped the piece come out. There we go. Yeah, it pulls it out of the glass really easily. And I'm not seeing any markings on the back from the plastic, so that's cool. That was a good trick. So yeah, another lip on this one. And I'm not gonna stack these up just yet. Even though they're cured, it's still, I usually wait about 3 or 4 days before I stack them, or they do still tend to stick together a little bit. Oh. Oh, this one's got a big lip. So they've all got a lip. All right, so let me switch my camera around. I'm gonna take you over to my sanding station. I'm gonna show you how I get rid of that lip. And then after I get the lip off, I'll show you how I finish the edges. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm over at my sanding station. If you haven't seen this before, I have a video on my channel and I'll link to it in the description. But I show you my whole setup. But basically, I have a marathon hand drill. Let me see if I can move my, sorry, my camera's on the tripod. So I have this marathon drill and then my Tornado 1000, this is a dust catcher. So that basically keeps my area safe while I'm sanding. You don't want to do any sanding indoors if you don't have a dust catcher. Even having a window open isn't going to be enough because the dust, if you inhale the dust, it's just not a good situation for your lungs. And the dust is very fine, so it'll settle on your floor and on your picture frames and everywhere in the room. And then it's real easy to kick it back up as you just, live your life, moving around the room. So I always advise sanding outside if you don't have a dust catcher inside. When I turn the dust catcher on, it's really super loud, so I'm gonna mute the video so you don't have to listen to it. But I'll just explain real quickly what I'm gonna do. So I work underneath this clear panel and then the dust gets sucked into the filter there. But as we saw earlier, there's this lip on this little bowl. So using my hand drill, and I use this bit, there's all kinds of bits you can use. I have a lot of these smoother ones, different grits. I have, this is just wool. This is really good for putting a little polish back on. You can also use, grab some of my other bits here. So depending on how deep you want to go, you can also use these barrel bits. These are metal. I don't know if I can focus on this. They've got a rougher surface and they come in different grits, I guess you'd call them, but the rougher they are, the deeper they'll cut. So if you have a lot of sanding to do, like if this were a really big lip, or if I was wanting to say like carve a design into it, I would use one of those other bits. But since I'm just getting rid of this lip, I'm gonna use my bit that I usually use, and I'll put a link to these bits too in the description. So I'm going to turn everything on. I'm going to go mute and show you how I do this. Okay, so you can see the dust that's still on here. So I wash this off in water to get rid of the dust. But the edge that's left is not shiny, it's not pretty. So then what I do is I change out my bit and I put the that wool bit on here. Now this is not going to bring it to a high gloss, but it will smooth it out a little bit because I'm going to be going over this with silver leaf on the edges. So it doesn't need to be super glossy, but it does need to be smoother. So I'm going to turn the fan back on. Okay, so the edge is a lot nicer now. There's still dust on it, but you can see the edge, it looks a lot smoother. Again, it's not super shiny, but it looks a lot better. I'll also use that wool bit on this edge, on the top side that you can see, because there usually are just a couple bubbles. Even though you went around the mold, I went around it with the dotting tool around the inside edge of the mold, there's still always going to be a bubble here or there that just sticks and ends up leaving a rough spot. So if I'm doing the top side of a piece where I don't want to use that rough bit, I'll use this wool bit to just kind of smooth these out. So I'm going to do that now. And then when I did at the end there, you saw me, I was going around it and feeling with my finger for any rough spots. And then I was just hitting them with that bit one more time just to smooth them out. So I'm gonna do the other 3 bowls and then I will show you how I do my edges. Okay, last step now is the silver edges. So I use these 2 brands. They both work really well. I don't prefer one over the other. I think they're both great. The Deco Color or the Krylon. And you want to look for leafing pen, not a paint pen. It has to be a leafing pen. And these come in all colors: silver, gold, copper, rose gold. So I'm going to use the Deco Color just because I'm getting low on it, so I'm going to use it up. So a closer look at the edges after I've washed them. So you can see the edges look really good. They're slightly dull, but not bad. And they'll look really good after I leaf them. So I always have a little paper towel available. My dogs are going crazy. And I just blot it a couple times just to make sure the ink is flowing. And then just go around the edges with it. And you have to blot it every once in a while just to kind of restart the flow of the paint. And then I also like to just hit that edge that I sanded. And then as you turn it, you want to make sure you don't touch it because it takes a minute or so to dry. And this is oil-based, so you cannot put resin over this. Resin won't stick to it. I made the mistake once of doing this to the edges and then pouring a flood coat, that went over the sides, thinking, oh, that'll seal the edges in and, they won't scratch off or anything. And what happened was that resin top coat actually peeled off around the edges where I had the leafing. So this will not peel off. It won't scratch off. I have several sets of coasters in my home that I've done the edges with these two brands, and they're several years old, and the edges look good as new. I have customers that have coasters with these edges, and I ask them every once in a while, how are the edges holding up? And they always say they look great. So I don't really worry about these two brands. I don't know about other brands of leafing pens or paint pens. I don't know how they last, but this seems to work really well. Almost done. And I will say, if you need to go over it a second time, if there's any spots you missed, wait until it's completely dry, because if you do it while it's still wet, it'll just scratch through and it won't stick. Like, I don't know if you can see, but right here I need to add a little bit more. So I'm gonna wait till it's dry. If I try to do it now, it would actually rub off what I have on there. So let me just bring you down for a close-up of these guys, and then we'll finish up. So there you go. I think that looks really, really pretty. You can see a couple of like the little bubble spots where I sanded them away. And I'll go through with the paint pen and kind of try and dab into that little bubble spot so it's not as obvious. But the edges are hand sanded, so they're not going to be perfectly smooth, but I think that just adds to the beauty of the piece. So as always, if you found this tutorial helpful, please subscribe, share my channel. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.